Good day. I am Michael Israel, here today to talk about shock. Shock is hyperperfusion of the body tissue where the circulatory system is in a state of collapse. So in the early state of shock, the body will try to maintain homeostasis, and also as shock progresses, the circulatory system will become more compromised. So today I will be discussing with you three types of shock. So we have cardiogenic shock, distributive shock, and also we have hypervolemic shock that we'll be discussing. So we have today the circulatory system as it relates to shock is covered consider three parts. We consider three parts. Consider the heart, which is the pump, the blood vessels, we'll consider the pipes, and we'll consider the fluid, blood, we'll consider the content. So those are the three parts. So with those three parts, we call them our perfusion triangle. So we're doing in a triangle. So as it relates now to cardiogenic shock, now we'll consider that some pump failure. So we mentioned cardiogenic shock have to do with the heart itself. Some failure of the heart by disease and injuries. As it relates to distributive shock, we'll consider some compromises with the blood vessels, where the blood vessels, the arteries and the veins, and small blood vessel arterioles and venules are dilated, that cause blood to pool at the bed of the vessels, cause the hyperperfusion there. And we'll consider the hypovolemic shock, which would be the content. We're losing blood, we're losing fluids, there's a shortage of fluids in the body, so there's not enough to perfuse the body. So we'll consider that in terms of the perfusion triangle as related to cardiogenic, distributive, and hypovolemic shock. So let's discuss them one by one. Let's discuss cardiogenic shock. So cardiogenic shock is some form of inadequate function of the heart itself. It can come from disease or injury. So it could be heart itself is having problem contracting. The myocardial contractibility the heart is not able to do that. So, and we also have some heart on its own electrical system. So if the electrical system is compromised, we will see where the heart is unable to beat in a coordinated area. It will beat irregular, so that it will compromise the supply of blood around the body by the pumping effect. So with the heart now we have what we call the preload and afterload. So the preload, we have to have enough adequate blood coming from the body to fill the heart through the atrium and the ventricle so it can contract and get out the blood. And the afterload will be the resistance from the artery down by the aorta, where the blood is pushing, where the ventricle is pushing the blood. So the effect of the afterload is a high afterload, there is more resistance and will cause a problem in the heart. So in short, the cardiogenic shock will be caused by very low, a low preload, high afterload, or some impaired contractibility problem to get blood around. So that is the heart itself, cardiogenic shock. So the cardiogenic shock now, we have the type of cardiogenic shock is something called obstructive shock. So with obstructive shock, we have some example of some person having attention pneumothorax, cardiac tamponade, or we can say a pulmonary embolism. We can cause those obstruction, we can cause getting involved in that shock. So let's discuss distributive shock. So distributive shock is normally caused by a widespread dilation of the vessels. So that, as I said before, distributed has to do with the blood vessels, so it being dilated. So if it's dilated, the blood pool, and so inadequate blood supply around the body. So what we have in distributed shock, we have about four types of distributed shock that we will be discussing. We have septic shock, we have neurogenic shock, we have anaphylactic shock, we have psychogenic shock. So the septic shock will be an infection, usually by bacteria, which will cause that widespread dilation and will ultimately reach the distributive shock category. So the next shock in that category is the neurogenic shock, which will cause by spinal cord injury. So high spinal cord injury where the nerves control the dilation and contraction of the vascular walls are compromised, so that will cause it to widespread dilation, and then we go into get low perfusion. So the next one under this category is also anaphylactic. Anaphylactic is a severe allergic reaction. It's an anaphylactic shock, severe allergic reaction that causes widespread dilation also, and will cause low perfusion. So, and the final one in this category is psychogenic shock. That is a result of a sudden nervous system problem, sudden shock, sudden nervous system problem will cause the widespread dilation and will limit the supply of blood to the brain, which will cause fainting or syncope, and that will result in the psychogenic shock in effect, where we have some fainting, and that's it, that here. So that will have to do with the distributive shock. So we can talk about now hypovolemic shock, which is the content that we were talking about earlier, fluid that in the body loses blood or the fluids. So if we lose those things, body is not able to get adequate amount to perfuse the body's tissue. So with the hypovolemic shock, you have two types. You have hemorrhagic and you have non-hemorrhagic. So hemorrhagic is where you lose the blood supply from the circulatory system. So there's a limited amount of blood supply leave to perfuse the body. And also we have non-hemorrhagic, which involve other fluids such as you can lose from vomiting and diarrhea. So we lose those fluids that have mineral in them to help to supply the body with energy. So we can cause those can cause like dehydration, which can cause or aggravate shock. So that is with hypovolemic shock. So we can cause hypovolemic shock can also come from like thermal burns, where you get a burn and the fluid, plasma fluid, is being lost through that burn, thermal burn. So we know that will bring us into hypovolemic shock also. So that is it for the shock. To review, we discussed three types of shock: cardiogenic shock, distributive shock, and hypovolemic shock. In cardiogenic shock, we have obstructive shock, which involve tension pneumothorax, cardiac tamponade, and also pulmonary embolism. So, and in the distributive shock, we have the four things that we discussed: the septic shock, the anaphylactic shock, the neurogenic shock, and the psychogenic shock. And also in the hypovolemic shock, we have two types, which is the hemorrhagic and non-hemorrhagic shock. So I thank you for being with me today, and I hope you have an enjoyable rest of your day. Thank you.